Hello friends, welcome to another session of video tutorial on GitHub. In today's session we are going to cover the basics of GitHub. I'm going to have few videos on this wherein I'm going to go through how to create a repository on GitHub and then how to make use of this repository to store the Selenium Java source code. But in today's session we will cover just the basics of GitHub. Please subscribe, like, share, comment the videos on this channel. If you have any training inquiries, please contact me at techtrainerraj@gmail.com. Before we look at GitHub, we need to understand a little bit about version control. Version control is a system that records changes to a file or set of files over time so that you can recall specific versions later. Version control is nothing but a repository or a database wherein each version of the file will be stored. That means if I make a file and then if I change it n number of times and save it to a particular repository, then there will be n different versions, so that if I want to go back to any of the previous version, I can still fetch that previous version and modify and save it back to a repository. So that is the use of version control. Generally all the source code will be version controlled. The advantages of version controls are it allows you to revert selected files back to previous state. You can always pull back as a particular file back to a previous state by just pulling that and saving it on top of the existing file. Okay, the same can be done for the entire project also. You can compare the changes over time, so you can compare the files or a particular file between two different versions. It also shows who has modified the file or the files which has introduced an issue and when this was introduced. So it will also help you to pinpoint which part of source code has introduced a particular issue and by when. The version control also helps you to organize the projects or features. In a company there will be multiple projects running, so you can organize them in a better way using the version control. It also helps multiple developers to work on different things simultaneously. Okay, what is a GitHub? GitHub is a web-based hosting service for version control using Git. GitHub is a company which provides a hosting service wherein you can go and create repositories and make use of version control using Git. How Git is different from other version control system? So let us look at that. The other version control system generally makes use of delta based, or it just stores the difference of files or set of files. That means the information they store will be as a set of files and the changes made to each file over time will be stored as a difference to the actual file. Wherein in Git it stores snapshots. Instead of storing the differences, it stores the snapshot. If there is a change in the file, then it takes another snapshot. If there is no change in the other files, then it just links it to the previous version. Okay, let us see diagrammatically how these two work. Let us look at delta based approach now. On the horizontal line you can see check-ins over the time. So that means the file has been changed and checked in. Okay, so here we are talking about 3 files checked in. That means stored into the repository for the first time. Okay, so that will be version 1. And then file A has been changed and the version 2 stores only the difference between the second version and the original file. The original file is version 1 and the version 2 will contain only the differences. Okay, again version 3 there is no change for file A, and version 4 again there is a change. Again only the difference will be stored in version 4. If you look at file B, there is no change in version 2 and version 3, and version 4 there is a change. If you look at under version 4, file A has changed twice and file B has changed only once. If you look at file C, under version 2 there is a change, and version 3 there is a change. Okay, if you look at version 5, file B has got one more change and file C has got one more change. Okay, so let us look at Git now. Okay, if you look at Git, in version 1 all 3 files have been checked in, and under version 2 file A has changed and file C has changed, but file B hasn't changed. So what this does in Git for file B is it will just link it to the original file. This version 2 will have complete snapshot, wherein if you look at other VCS, version 2 will not have complete snapshot. Okay, so if you look at version 3, again there is no change in file A and file B, there is a change in file C. Again it takes the entire snapshot. In this case it is A1 for file A and B for file B and the new file. Okay, so here also if you look at each version, there is a complete snapshot of all the files. Okay, the same way for version 4 and same way for version 5. Even though there is no change in the file, it will just link it to the previous version of the file. But in this case, you won't get the complete snapshot. You will just get the difference. Okay, so that is the difference between these two version controls. There are two terminologies here which you need to understand: check-in and check-out. Check-in is storing the local file onto a repository. Check-out is taking out a particular version from the repository back to your local hard drive. So there are 3 stages in Git. First thing is you need to create a .git directory, which is also a repository which acts as a local database which stores the current snapshot of your project. If you want to change something in that particular project, then first thing is you need to check out the project. Okay, once you check out the project, the entire snapshot will be taken out and then it will be stored in a working directory. Once you modify some of the files which needs to go into the Git repository, then you mark those files as staged. Okay, the staging area will contain those files which will be committed back to the repository whenever we do a next commit, which will become a new snapshot. Okay, so here we will see 3 different file types. One is committed. Committed is nothing but the data is safely stored in your local database. Local database is nothing but the Git repository. Modified means that you have changed the file but have not committed it to your database yet. Staged means those modified files which needs to go into the Git repository on next commit, those files will be called staged. The workflow is first you check out all the files, then you modify files in the working tree, that is working directory. Within the working directory you modify the files and you selectively stage just those changes you want to be part of the next commit. That means those which needs to go into the next commit as a new snapshot, that you make them as staged, and then you do a commit and it will create a new snapshot in the local database. In this session we have gone through the basics of Git and how Git is different from other version control system, and we have also seen what is version control system. Okay, that is the end of this session. Thanks for watching. Please stand by for more videos on this channel, and don't forget to subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon so that you get the latest updates.